Hello, this is the Happy Weight Podcast. This is Aoife Dean. Thanks so much for listening. So today I'm going to be talking about the things I miss about binge eating. So I had binge eating disorder. I developed it around the age of 14 and I had it till my late 20s. I don't think it went past 30. I think I had done a lot of personal development by that point and it kind of worn off a good bit anyways. I was riddled with binge eating disorder for a long time. It made me 3 stone heavier than I am now. And it's awful. And you mightn't be a binge eater, but you might be an overeater. You mightn't even think that you're a major overeater. You might be a non-stop grazer. There's a lot of different kind of categories of how we can overeat or be sustaining our body at a higher size than it wants to be through a not great crack relationship with food. So I'd love to help you work through that. So I'm going to go through the things that I miss. And then there's the things that I kind of miss. I don't know, they're like kind of miss, on the fence about. And then the things that I don't miss at all. And like the bright side of why you're working on this, like why you're making the effort to listen to a podcast like this, like well done. Like if you are, part of you knows it's worth it. Part of you knows you do not need to settle for a bad relationship with food and you do not need to settle for a weight problem. So it is worth it. It is working through, it is worth it. And I think the biggest thing is that like when we're in a negative headspace with our eating and weight, you know, we feel like every day and every minute matters, every week matters, you know, we want to be like skinny for like, you know, a wedding in 3 weeks or something, or we want to drop a stone in a month or whatever. And, that's definitely keeping us eternally in a weight problem. But when you chill out and you know, okay, this is big and I have to work through it. And there are no cheats. There are no, there is no way of doing this faster. Like I have to work through me, myself and I on a stressful week, on an emotional week, on a disorganized week. Like I have to handle life differently. I have to handle food differently. I need to learn about what doesn't work for myself. And I think as you're working through all of that and when you get to the other side, it's the opposite then of that urgent, I need to be slim for the communion in May or whatever attitude, because you won't give a damn whether you were fixed in, you know, December 2025 or, you know, January 2026. Like you won't care. You'll just be so delighted to be free of it. And that's how I feel anyway. And I also kind of feel that like the worse our eating issues are, the more we will appreciate a great relationship with food forever. The worse our issues with our body has been, the more we will forever appreciate how great it is to be in a good place with our body. So, it's the darkest before the dawn, and all of this is worth working through. And you're going to be looking back on times like now, if you're not feeling like you're in a good place, you're going to be looking back on times like this, like that, and you're going to have a lot of compassion for yourself, and you're also going to be very happy that things are different. And I think it's definitely worth keeping that in your head, knowing that this is hard, but knowing that there's going to be a day that you're looking back on it and you're like, thank God I kept moving forward. So, all right, first of all, what I miss about binge eating is the fantasy element of it. Like, you know, I remember stuffing my face and literally be like, yeah. Okay, I'm going to eat all of this tonight now, but then I'm going to be so good tomorrow. Do you know? And oh my God, you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to track every day. I'm going to exercise every day. I'm not going to have any carbs. I'm actually not going to go to that thing I'm invited to on Friday. I'm actually going to stay in. I'm going to maybe go to the gym. And, you know, it all sounds lovely in our head when we're doing the over planning. But like, then sure, of course, life gets in the way. And we do need to let our hair down. And we're badly needing carbs, our body is badly needing carbs or whatever. But like that fantasy element in the planning stage is a lovely little fantasy. And also just the idea, you know, like, oh my God. And then I'm like actually going to lose all the weight and I'm going to be so slim and everyone's going to be like, whoa, what happened to Aoife Dean? You know, and there was just such a like overnight transformation fantasy. It was a bit of crack to live in that fantasy. But actually, you know, those covers of like Slimming Club magazines, they're not really reality. Like, you know, you probably know this. You might even have a Slimming Club teacher who, yeah, she was in you know, the diet worked for her the first time round, but now like it's slipping. It's definitely slipping. So, you know, those, wow, I lost so much weight and, you know, I just calorie controlled and it was that simple. You just got to do it. You know, like those stories really are the exception, not the rule. Like most people will fall off the diet wagon and fall off the calorie counting, point counting wagon at some stage, and they'll fall off it big time. And that's the whole thing. Like the more you diet, the better you get at overeating. Your bad phases get worse. You know, I think of what actually dieting teaches us is how to really effectively overeat. You know, like I remember with my binge eating, you know, I was becoming quite the expert. I was like, I'll buy that there. I'll have this in the freezer. I could order that. And actually that's a waste of time. I won't bother with that. Like, you know, my overeating sessions were, you know, really kind of getting better and better from a overeating point of view, and not in a good way, I mean. So I suppose that fantasy element, yeah, I miss that escapism, you know, that it'd be like, oh yeah, wow, in a month's time, I'm going to be totally different Aoife, and everyone's going to be like, whoa, you know, I don't have that anymore. Maybe that's a bit juvenile as well. You don't maybe have that either. The other one I miss is you get to clock out of life for a while, because I suppose it's a bit like getting blackout drunk. If you're like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a takeaway and I'm going to eat the ice cream in the freezer, and then I'm going to make a toasted sandwich, and then I might have a bowl of cereal, and then I might have some rice cakes and honey, and then I might have some chocolate, and then I might do this and this and this and this. Actually, rice cakes and honey definitely would not have been in one of my binges. But, you know, we get to be in that, you know, so rather than addressing the emotion, we're like, oh yeah, and then I could eat that and that could be lovely and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, you're in the eating, and then sometimes when I was in the eating, I was either imagining how fat I was going to be getting from this, or like I said, I was planning the shred. I was planning the like, yeah, this is all grand because tomorrow then I'm going to be good, and, you know, next week I'm going to be good. And I would have just been thinking about all of that. Then after you do all the eating, you do all the giving out to yourself, and you do all the guilt, and you do all the like, what's wrong with me? And geez, that was weird. And like, what is actually wrong with me? Do I actually have a food addiction? Like, this is actually bad. You know, I have to call a spade a spade. Like, that is the worst eating. And that was so many calories, and that was so disgusting. And, you know, if you kind of tot up all those different phases of one night, like 124 hours, 112 hours actually, say from like, I don't know, 6 p.m. to even 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. the next day, that whole cycle, the ups and downs of overeating or binging, and then regretting and remorsing, and then planning your next diet. Like, you've just swallowed up, you know, a lot of thinking time. Like, you just got to clock out of your life and real life stuff, you know, for many, many hours. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what size you are. It actually does not matter what size you are. There are loads of people that are your weight and they feel hot to trot. They feel hot. They feel confident. Like, everyone knows they're hot. They're lovely. They're healthy. They're whatever. They're successful at work, successful with the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever. Like, any of the things that you could blame your weight on, there's people out there who are your weight killing it in all of those areas. So we overvalue weight and shape, and, you know, we're like, oh my God, now this is awful because I'm going to put on weight, and this is brilliant because I've lost a bit of weight or whatever. In those fantasy clocking out of our real life, we're just making everything about weight and eating. And life is not about weight and eating. Life is about your emotions, your relationships, what you're creating, what you're building, whatever else. But we get to clock out of that when we're in that whole either regretting or planning or whatever. Then, right, another thing I miss, the third thing I miss, is for a brief second, you found a solution for your anxiety, or you found a solution for your loneliness, or, your stress at work, or feeling undervalued, feeling overworked, undervalued, disrespected, whatever other emotions that we could have. So that emotion gets to boiling point, and then we can be like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to break all my diet rules, and I'm going to get a lovely takeaway, or I'm going to put the pizza in the freezer in the oven. For a brief second, we're like, yes, that could be your solution to the feeling I'm feeling. And like, that's so simplistic, really, that literally no matter what's going on, it's like, ooh, I know what I'll do. I'll break my diet rules. And for a split second, then we're like, that's it. I found a solution. And it's like I said, no, you haven't found a solution. You've just found a way to bury your head in the sand and neglect your emotions and neglect reframing something. Because if you're feeling really bad, no doubt the angle at which you're looking at a situation or yourself is negative. Or maybe even, you feel undervalued by someone or your boss or whatever. Well, you also could have the option of being like, well, what's the contrary evidence? Where are the times in the last week that they showed appreciation or whatever? Like, we could neutralize the story rather than just letting it be so negative. But instead, we can just let it be negative, keep the story of like, I'm not good enough, I'm mistreated, I feel shit, and then just go for the solution in, yay, I'll break the diet anyways. That would be one nice thing to do. And so, like I said, for a brief second, you think you found a solution. And that's the bad thing about having rules around food, because basically, if you have any concept that a food is bad, well then, it's always going to be a bit of crack getting your hands on it. So we're not actually sorting the issue with our partner. We're just like, yay, I get to have the bold stuff. And then it's like, okay, no one's saying it's bold. Like, there's loads of people who eat that food and they're not overweight. So don't even say that you shouldn't be eating that food if you want to lose weight. That's bollocks. And, also, what about your emotion? Like, doesn't your emotion matter? Like, why does pouring a load of oil or sugar or salt down your gob, how do you deserve that rather than dealing with the emotion you're really feeling, So, yeah, I think, basically when we're fixing things, we just instead give ourselves that opportunity to maybe press pause and see how we're feeling, see how we're looking at things, and deciding then how we desire to feel. Because you might desire to feel comforted and reassured and loved and relaxed and comfortable and have delicious foods and feel nice in your belly and have nice taste in your mouth. But none of that is binge eating. None of that is overeating. I was just saying it to a client actually, overeating really falls between two stools, because you're not taking care of your emotions, so you're neglected in that way. And you're also not having a delicious, memorable relationship with food, because mindless eating isn't a delicious, memorable, positive time with food. So it's neither. It's just crap. So, you deserve more. So they're the things I really miss about binge eating. Well, really miss. I suppose I don't really miss. But then the things that I'd be on the fence about, I suppose it was a very convenient story from time to time to be like, oh, other people are lucky. Isn't that nice for them? Other people are lucky. And I would never say that in my career. I would never say successful people, I know a lot of successful people. A lot of my clients are in good jobs or have had good careers or are in good careers or are amazing grannies or mothers or friends or whatever. They're clearly killing it in different areas of their life. And I would never say that, oh, that's down to luck. That's absolute pure chance. It's no, they look at things in a certain way and they behave in a certain way. That means they're fruitful in that department of their life, and I suppose I kind of miss the days when it was that easy, when you could be like, oh, when someone's slim and when they're fit, it's just good genetics. I'm like, what a cop out. Like, what a cop out. Like, how convenient for me to think that. And I remember actually the last time maybe I had a cop out thought like that was maybe a year or two ago. I remember kind of thinking, well, this is it now, Aoife. You're in your late 30s. Maybe things do change. And then I was like, okay, Aoife, if it wasn't your age, what might have been different with your eating and exercise in the last week or two that your pants are feeling tighter today? And then sure, my brain would come up with a flurry of things that were different in the last 2 weeks that might contribute to tight pants. And none of them were my age. So when we blame stuff like our age or luck or whatever, it's like, God, you're really copping out of solutions there, and it's like, that's so convenient, really, but it's lies. Another thing that I think works for a really short time, because the thing about like being like, oh, I'm size 16 and she's size 10, but she's just lucky and I'm unlucky. Like, I think that's soothing for around 10 minutes. But then ultimately part of your brain is like, well, I know I don't need to be this size, or I know I'm not happy at this size. And, it doesn't need to be size 16, whatever your size is, it could be any size, could be 20, whatever. The point is, a calling doesn't stop calling. So if you know that, the way you're eating isn't a tip-top positive relationship with food, and the relationship that you have with your body isn't a tip-top relationship with your body, well then you're not at your natural weight. You're absolutely not. And basically, like, the more negativity there is in your relationship with food or with your relationship with your body, the further you are away from your natural weight, I would say, in most cases. So when we're like, oh, she's just lucky, I'm like, that's soothing for 10 minutes. And then you're like, but I actually do want to be slimmer. So like, it doesn't really... Like, it's not the full answer, the luck, because you still go back to like, yeah, even if she is lucky, I still actually do want to be slimmer, though I do want to find solutions. And the same with pitying for myself. And I suppose that's the same as the luck. I suppose I would have had a lot of pity for myself. And like I said in previous episodes, I would have always been, ruminating on all the things that were stacked against me, my parents not having a great relationship with food and always dieting or whatever, and my siblings and my genetics and my autoimmune disease, and the fact that I'm generally on steroids a lot on and off, and my PCOS. And there was a range of things that I was like, oh God, poor me, sure, I'm destined to be overweight. Like I said, it's soothing for around 10 minutes. And then it's just not that soothing, because I was saying this to a client last night, actually, that like, if your heart sinks when you think something, that means it's not for you. And if you think to yourself, yeah, maybe this is just my destiny, maybe like there's just too many odds stacked against me. Like, I'm meant to be this weight forever, or I'm meant to be heavier than this. Like, if you say that to yourself and your heart sinks, that means it's not true. Like, that's not your destiny calling. And then when you think of something and it lifts your heart or lifts your soul and is like, oh, that's nice. Well, when people say about gut instincts, that's what they're talking about, and you can have gut instincts about people. You can be like, ugh, I just can't put my finger on it, but I just don't trust her or whatever. I just don't get a good vibe from her. Like, that's a gut instinct, and it's important to follow our gut instincts. And who have I heard talk about this? Bruce Lipton. Like, Bruce Lipton is like, you'd never talk a hyena out of their gut instincts. You'd never be like, oh no, trust that lion. Oh, go against your gut instincts. And with humans, it's the same. Like, trust your gut instincts. So I love the simplicity of that, actually. I love the idea that if your soul sinks when you think something, it's like, oh, okay, note to self. That's not my direction then. That's not where I'm headed in life. That would be the anti-direction of where I'm headed in life if it feels so bad. So yeah, and then the things that I absolutely don't miss. Well, when I started building my self-esteem, knowing my worth, and therefore knowing that, like, whatever about weight, like, if I'm overweight for the rest of my life, I do not deserve to be going to bed in painful. I do not deserve to be carrying around this heaviness with food all the time, mentally and physically. And I also, while everyone else is out there creating amazing life, having the crack, whatever, I do not deserve to be in my head with the last hour thinking about calories. So for me, the getting out of all eating and weight issues came with self-esteem. It's like, I do not deserve that. Like, I could be a beautiful, overweight woman with an amazing life and a happy attitude and be really killing it in all areas of my life. Because the worst part of a weight problem is definitely the mental noise and how you block yourself from happiness and how you think you deserve shame and you think you deserve disappointment and you think being disappointed in yourself is justified and you think giving out to yourself for what you ate yesterday is justified. Like, that is the least crack part of all weight problems. It's not the body stuff, because you could have the crack at any body size and you could dress terrifically and all the rest of it. But of course, if we had high self-esteem and if we did celebrate our body and if we did, start being really discerning about food and have, not settle for being heavy and having manky feelings in our system because we just ate too much because we said we were going to not eat bread tomorrow or some horrible threat like that. The thing is that, of course, if we adopted Queen energy anyways, and did all those nice things, we'd let go of the weight, because it's the not nice things we're doing to ourselves is causing the overeating that's causing the weight. So like I said, self-esteem was what kind of, I suppose, changed everything for me. So then when I was stumbling upon that, I was kind of like, oh, wow, like food means something entirely different to other people. Like, takeaway is used to put a nice feeling in your body. Chocolate is used to put a nice feeling in your body. Crisps are used to put a nice feeling in your body. Like, I had only ever used those foods to feel shit about myself. Like, I ate those foods and then I felt shit about myself. And I generally ate those foods in a way that I wasn't aware of the taste because I was so busy giving out to myself for eating them in the first place. So like, the taste was completely lost on me, really. And then I would eat them to an uncomfortable extent, or I'd have them in a frequency in the week that was too much for my system. So it didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't using them as a positive. And so that was just so eye-opening to me that, like, oh my God, food is like a happy thing in people without weight problems' lives. Like, it's a happy thing. They use it for happiness. Like, if they're eating muesli, they're eating it for happiness. They're eating it so they'll feel better physically and they like the taste of it and it's going to help their mood or whatever. And whether they're doing that with muesli or a cucumber salad or a hot chocolate or, Haribo or whatever, they're eating with a positive, they're eating to add positivity to their day. I was never eating to add positivity to my day. I was eating because you should eat. You should eat this food at this time. You should eat it in this amount. And if you go off track with any of those shoulds, well then, you've got guilt, you've got remorse, you've got hating yourself, being disappointed in yourself. So that was my relationship with food. My relationship with food was either should or guilt. Should or guilt. Should or guilt. So basically then you're like, oh wow. So it's actually neither of those things. People without weight problems have zero shoulds. Zero shoulds. Like, as in, if mash and gravy would make you feel amazing in the next 20 minutes time, there is not an expert on the planet, I would say, that told you that you just made the wrong choice. Like, it doesn't matter what PhDs they have, how long they've worked in the field. If your body is like, yay, thanks, Sarah, thank you for eating that. Like, you done the right thing. Like, just like if you were freezing cold, there's not a doctor on the planet that could say, hey, I think the right decision now would to be not to put on a jumper. Like, your signals are more important for your health than anyone's opinion, basically. Like, you feeling well has to be more important than someone else's opinion. So that means if someone says 2 bowls of ice cream is a portion of ice cream, but your belly's happy after 1, well then feck the advice on 2 bowls of ice cream is the right amount. And equally, if someone says to you, oh, no ice cream is the right amount for you, and your belly would feel lovely after 1 bowl of ice cream, well, feck that advice. So your signals have to be more important than advice. And so that was so freeing for me to say, I don't know, eat a jambon or something and be like, every cell of my body feels happy to be eating this jambon. And it is so freeing to know that if some expert came up to me now and said, you shouldn't be eating jambons, I'd be like, feck off, because every signal in my body has just told me I've done the right thing. And like I said, so that's across the board. Like equally, that could be with celery, that could be with red pepper and hummus, like a beautiful taste and a beautiful feeling in my body. It's not about good or bad foods. It's about, I feel so lovely after that. The next one I really don't miss is encouraging negativity and promoting bullying in your head. Like I developed a mantra that really worked for me. That was like, Aoife, it literally does not matter what food you ate yesterday and how much food you ate yesterday or how much you ate of that food. You do not have a right to give out to yourself, because basically self-esteem is really what makes or breaks eating issues. And if you want to come out of weight issues, you can't afford low self-esteem. You can't. And also, depending on how quick you want to get out of this, every time you bully yourself, you're on pause. Like you're not moving forward. You're not becoming more like your ideal weight self. If you're bullying yourself, that is fundamentally in the weight problem version of yourself. So, you know, I saw for myself how when we're disappointed in ourselves, like disappointment really is the kryptonite. Like you're on pause. You're either not losing weight or you're gaining weight, but there's no way in hell you're moving forward anyway. So that really taught me to just drop it. You are not justified in giving out to yourself. And also think of the bigger picture. You know, I was talking to a client yesterday and it's like, you know, she had a stressful week and it was a stressful week and she ate some chocolate, or she might have eaten too much chocolate for herself or for her belly or whatever. But like the degree to which we can be giving out to ourselves can be disproportionate to what actually took place. It's like you're a person who felt stress and ate a bit too much. Do you think no one else does that? Do you think there's no one out there yesterday who is a healthy weight and done that? Like, that's not a really weird, odd behavior. What's really odd and weird is the fact that we think it's okay to bully ourselves because of what we ate or because of what we weigh. That is not okay and will never be okay. And I'm proud to say, like, I do not entertain a millisecond of that now, because I know what progress requires. So even if you do want to improve your diet, you will never improve your diet by giving out to yourself. You will improve your diet by knowing you deserve more. And you realize you deserve more because how you talk to yourself is now always with respect. And so when we start talking to ourselves with respect more often, we realize we do not deserve to be in discomfort all the time. And we actually do deserve to reach our potential, and we deserve to reach our unique potential. And the more we deserve to, you know, the more we know we want to reach our unique potential, the more you realize you can't listen to anyone else's advice, because no one else is exactly you. No one else has the exact same body, metabolism, taste buds, etc. So if you want to go for gold in reaching your potential, you have to actually really put on your blinkers to all other people's shoulds and shouldn'ts, because you need to feel well in the next hour, and only you can know how to do that. And the next one that I really don't miss is believing in either good days or bad days, or good foods and bad foods. And like, you would have to, like, I actually don't know what I would take now for anyone to convince me that any food is bad. Like, because I just believe literally every single food and drink has its place. And nothing is like toxic waste, like as in you'll manage, you'll survive, you know, you can have a can of it or a portion of it or whatever, you'll be grand. It's not that big a deal. Whereas when we believe in bad and good foods, you know, things are so bad and so good. And, you know, it's usually besides the point, because people who believe in good and bad foods generally are people who want to correct their weight. And it's like you can overeat anything. You could cut out all the bad foods in the world and overeat dinners. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of an irrelevant side of things that can really put you wrong, because even I had a new client there, he's only like a few days in, and he's like, oh, well, I'm going to this nice hotel, so at least I know there the food will be good. Do you know? And I'm like, I like, that language doesn't even make sense to me, because I'm kind of like, you could overeat. We can overeat anywhere. We can overeat anywhere. Like the actual food type doesn't matter. The situation doesn't matter. And like, also yesterday I was talking to a client who's in a really good place and has come out the other side of all of this. And we were chatting about how actually sometimes you're better off eating out lots or meeting a friend for coffee or whatever, because you've got variety, you've got taste, you know, and also when you get used to it, you could be well able to, you know, go out for a latte and a slice of cake and feel lovely after it, or share the cake with your friend if you're not that hungry or whatever, and feel really lovely after it. Whereas I feel, for me anyway, how many times was I locked in the house, not letting myself go out or eat nice things, or, you know, trying to be good. And I'd do way more damage from what was in the cupboards at home. So that good food, bad food is like, we're talking about overeating or feeling nice in your belly. Like basically losing weight is that you feel nice in your belly more often. You're not starved all the time, and you're not bursting at the seams all the time. That like your belly's happy with you. Your belly is happy with what you're doing with your food. So yeah, I really don't miss that idea. And then equally with good days or bad days, like, you know, as I got better with this myself, I really started to fully figure out slim people and slim friends and stuff that are in my life that never would have dieted. And I'm like, oh, they don't need to have bad days, because they're never threatening themselves that tomorrow will be good or next week will be better. So, because they're never threatening themselves that next week will be better, they don't need to have a bad day today. And equally, they never need to have a good day, you know, because they don't have bad days. So it keeps being a cycle. So that's why, right, if you even have a tinge that you think that you're in a good day or a bad day today, change it. If you're in a good day by a calorie point of view or a controlling point of view, break out of that cycle by being like, okay, your focus today actually is eating like a slim person. So are you definitely enjoying your food? Is your food 10 out of 10 taste? And are you feeling not deprived, not at arm's length from beautiful food? Are you putting nice feelings in your belly? Is your body feeling as good as it could from food? Like, that's your criteria. Like, so maybe you could inject a bit more life and enjoyment if you're in a controlled good day today. And if you're in a bad day as such, you know, this is also another little hack. I would have said to myself, if I was in a bad day, Aoife, just assume your mood is going to be worse tomorrow. Just assume that you're going to have less time tomorrow. Just assume that you're going to be more emotional, that there's going to be more delicious stuff on show. You're going to have less time, less resources or whatever. Because then when you feel like there's a tsunami of food coming for you, or a tsunami of lack of exercise feeling, or that sedentary feeling tomorrow, then I think we can be like, ugh, okay, I don't want to contribute to more heaviness. Actually, let me find a way out of some of the heaviness today, just in case tomorrow I am moodier and I do need more comfort food, or I can't get out and exercise. So like, we can always rescue ourselves. Even if it's 5 to midnight, we can rescue ourselves in some way, I think, mentally or physically, by not just going all in on the bad day. Like, we just never need to do that. So yeah, I hope today's episode really, really helped. And another thing you really have to keep in mind, right, is there's one cornerstone thought of everyone who's got eating and weight issues, and that would be, if it hasn't happened now, maybe I'm fooling myself. And I just want to remind you, if you're thinking that this week, that's not a new thought. That's not a new thought. That is the initial thought you would have had that started creating behaviours that started a weight problem. Because that idea of maybe I'm fecked, maybe there's no hope, that's what gives you the right to mindlessly eat, because you don't need to be accountable because you're fecked anyways. So never settle for that thought, because of course you can learn. Of course you can pivot. Of course you can tweak. Of course you can feel a little bit better. Of course you can gradually reduce, ways of eating that you don't enjoy or you don't feel well after. Of course you can gradually reduce how mean you are to yourself. Of course you can gradually increase your relationship with your body. Of course you can do all of those things. And, weight loss is the sum of those parts, basically. So, like I said, if you have that thought, maybe if I'm not there now, I never will be, so maybe I should give up. Just remind yourself, oh shit, that's the thought I've always had that always makes me not move forward. So I choose to see things differently. I choose to see that I actually do have a right to tweak and pivot and move forward today. And I always have a right to feel better mentally. And I always have a right to be proud of myself, no matter what I eat or what I weigh. I have a right to be proud of myself. So yeah, hope today's episode helped, and I'll chat to you again.